But along with the glory of the brave men and women who tirelessly worked and fought to establish the United States of America, there existed a curious connection to a secret society that had migrated to North America centuries earlier. The connection was apparent not only among its leaders, but also its founding documents. That secret society was the Freemasons.
Hey, what's up guys, it's Sarah. I'm back at it again with another video. As you see, today's video is about Freemasonry, the mysterious 33rd degree, the symbolism and what we can take from it to improve our own lives. So stay until the end. We all know that there are secret societies, some of them that have existed since the Middle Ages. The most widely known to this day are the Freemasons. The symbolism is everywhere. The most interesting fact about them is that some of the most known leaders in all kinds of different industries are all Freemasons.
If there is one place on the planet where the principles and the foundational teachings of Freemasonry had the greatest impact, that would be the United States of America.
Freemasons account for 2 of the 5 committee members who drafted the Declaration of Independence, 40% of the generals during the Revolutionary War, and 30% of those who signed their names on the U.S. Constitution.
When you see all these famous names that were members of the fraternity, it makes you really wonder what kinds of rights and what kind of knowledge they have been taught. They obviously know some things and have understood how to tap into energy.
In the Masonic tradition, the tangible and intangible facets elegantly converge, orchestrating a symphony of perfect accord that defies the limitations of the mundane. In essentials, unity; in non-essentials, liberty; in all things, charity. We meet upon the level and we part upon the square.
I'm very lucky I got to speak to my friend who has been a Freemason for a long time. So he gave me a bit of a better idea of what the degrees and levels are, and then the secrecy within the organization. So first of all, since it's a secret society, some information is available to the public somewhere. And then there's knowledge that's only available to initiates. And of course, that knowledge depends on how far up you are. Now, first of all, what is Freemasonry? Freemasonry is a fraternal organization that goes way back in time. The first official lodges opened around the 16th and 1700s, but Freemasons were already around much longer. They are directly tied to stonemasons, so this goes even way further back to medieval times, where they were involved in building, so they were a trade group in a way. I was very fascinated to find out that they built the Gothic cathedrals in Europe, because my hometown Cologne has a very famous Gothic cathedral. So that is the original Freemasonry, also called operative Freemasonry. So over time, Freemasonry evolved into being speculative, where it was no longer about building, but personal growth and service. So you have the Blue Lodge, and that is also the Craft Lodge or a symbolic lodge. And it is the foundational body of Freemasonry. It's where you attain the first 3 degrees. The first is called Entered Apprentice, the second is called Fellow Craft, the third is called Master Mason. He explained to me that everything about the 3rd degree is just a higher level of secrecy, but it doesn't mean that those members are above or have power over the ones that are below them. So when you're getting initiated into the higher degrees, you are initiated into more and more secrets the higher up you go. And each degree has their own rituals. And within the rituals, there's a lot of symbolism that is open for interpretation, but it's done in a way that it's only meant to be understood once you have performed certain rites yourself. And then you can go to other Masons within the fraternity that help you understand the symbolism of these rites after you've done them. So now back to the 33rd degree. What is so special about it? Well, first of all, it's the highest degree, and it's not something that you can just obtain. The 33rd degree is only given to members that have given an exceptional level of service within the fraternity or even contributed to society. It is a symbol for the highest level of wisdom and understanding, and it's only given out every 2 years to a select few, and it's really only given to those that have demonstrated exceptional service or even contributed to growth of society or something. So not easy to attain. When I researched the topic, I came across a book by a 33rd degree Mason, And this book was really breaking down the symbolism of the Masonic rituals and a lot of these sources, books, and important people that have influenced or led to the creation. So just overall, these rituals seem to have been heavily influenced by alchemy, and the author even goes so far as to describe alchemy as the foundation of Freemasonry. So right around the same time that the first Masonic lodges were established in Europe, the Royal Society was founded. And the Royal Society was an association of scientists, but the founding members were a mix of alchemists, astrologers, hermeticists, and Kabbalists, and some experimental scientists. So many of their members were connected to the development of Freemasonry in England at the time. And at one point, 1/3 of the Grand Society were actually Freemasons. So maybe that gives you an idea of how closely tied alchemy is into Freemasonry. So now let's talk directly about the rituals and the symbolism. So there are 3 important books that are tied to the rituals, or that the rituals are based on. The first one is the Book of Lampspring, and it's a book that was written in 1556, and it's about spiritual alchemy. The second one is Mutus Liber, which, by the way, is the same book that Carl Jung used images from for his psychology and alchemy book. Then the third one shows a 3-step process to make the Philosopher's Stone. I'm going to explain more about that later. Then the third book is the 12 Keys of Basil Valentine, and it's another book about the alchemical process. The book was written in code so that it could only be understood by alchemists. So the rituals of the first 3 degrees are full of references on the transmission of light and how to start the process of internal change based on the alchemical process in the making of the Philosopher's Stone. Now let's talk alchemy. And without the history lesson, let's talk about the basics and how to apply it. First of all, my channel and my brand I named after alchemy for a reason, right? So what is alchemy? Alchemy started as a precursor to chemistry, and the goal was to transform base materials into gold. And at the same time, the spiritual goal was to discover the elixir of life and spiritual enlightenment. It combined a bunch of different sciences with spiritual practices and beliefs. So the Philosopher's Stone, very relevant in alchemy, it's a substance that is believed to have the power to transform the base metals into gold. It is the substance that perfects matter and spirit, and it is also what starts the actual transmutation, right, of the metal into gold. And it's a symbol for perfection, really. The process of alchemy is supposed to be a mirror for the inner transformation of the alchemist. And each step in the alchemical process is a symbol for the spiritual journey and personal transformation. So let's go over the alchemical process steps. So the first one is calcination, and that means burning away impurities. It could also stand for the destruction of ego, getting rid of false beliefs, false desires, and illusions. It could be all burned away. Now the second one is dissolution, and that means dissolving ashes into liquid. In the spiritual context, this means to really go into your unconscious or subconscious mind and to really understand yourself from the inside. Then the third process is separation. Separation means isolating pure elements from impurities. And the spiritual meaning of that, you are able to distinguish between true self and false self, right? Like back to the false ego, and what is really authentic to yourself and what are your values. The fourth one is conjunction. And that means that you are now recombining purified elements. The spiritual meaning is that you're combining the conscious with the unconscious mind, and that you're finding balance and unity with yourself, right? Because we all have things that are conflicting within ourselves, right? The fifth one is fermentation. That means that you're now adding a new element and that you're starting the transformation and that you're getting rejuvenated. And spiritually, it is a symbol for spiritual rebirth, spiritual insights and experience, and that you're now raising your consciousness and you're starting to awaken, basically. The sixth one is distillation, and that means purifying the substance and that you're heating and cooling it, and it's also a symbol for refinement. The spiritual meaning of it is that you're continuing to refine your soul because you're always going back to and looking at what is not pure within yourself. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean this in the Christian sense, but basically just to have that clarity to always go back and keep working on yourself and refine your understanding. The seventh one is coagulation, and I hope I pronounced this right, but that is really a symbol for the purified new substance and to bring that into form, and it's a symbol for manifestation. You have created this new self now and you're integrating that into your everyday life. This is the basic process of alchemy, the 7 steps. Now back to the Philosopher's Stone and its meaning. So it's really the attainment of like the high spiritual state. You could also call it enlightenment, and you know, it's your perfect soul, you're free from ego, and you see clearly. You have all of that because you went through the process, right? So yeah, back to the alchemical process. So again, it's encoded into the rituals of Freemasonry. So how can we apply the alchemical process of transmutation to achieve our desires in this lifetime? So first of all, it's the recognition that where you are today and the person you are today are not final. By applying internal alchemy, we can change ourselves first, and thereby we can change our circumstances. And what's really annoying about the New Age love and light community is the fake positivity, staying positive all the time so that you can manifest what you want. And alchemy actually teaches us the opposite. Alchemy teaches us how to transform something bad circumstances, experiences, feelings, and how to turn them into a positive outcome. But on the energetic level, it's teaching us how to take even energy that's negative and transmute it into energy that can be projected towards your desire and turn into a positive outcome. Now, if you watch my last video that I posted about sex magic, I talked about how important it is to have a large amount of energy to actually be able to manifest your goals into reality. And alchemy really teaches us that, because by applying this internal process, we really transform or transmute this negative energy that we have. There is something called emotional transmutation within alchemy. So emotions are energy in motion. Now, if you have a lot of negative emotions connected to a situation, you can then take that energy and instead of trying to push it down or feeling great about the subject, which will take much longer, you are able with this emotional transmutation method to take this energy, kind of cleanse it, and then turn it into the outcome that you want and project it towards your goal. And yes, I know that sounds very maybe outlandish to you if you've never heard of that, but it is a very powerful method because it means that with emotional transmutation, you can recognize how bad you feel about a subject and then basically just take a step back, remove yourself, and see it almost as a neutral energetic charge. And then you take this charge and you think about the excitement that your goal could bring you, and then you kind of flip the switch around and then project that energy towards your goal. And I know this is a very vast topic, but it is so important. And exactly on how to do that, I'm gonna have to post a lot more in-depth videos. But you know, it really helps if you look at energy almost like it's visible. If you see everything kind of as energy and try to imagine everything as, I want to say, having a form, and maybe the negative energy is like a dark gray or a muddy color. And if you can then change that, and then when you meditate on your goal, you have the recognition of the negative energy and you take that, and you almost have to think of it as if this were a charge for your battery, right? And the battery power is needed to power up your manifestation, right? So then you mentally would cleanse it and then project it towards the outcome. What I find so beautiful about it is that with this method, we don't have to deny our feelings. We don't have to always be fake positive. It is okay to feel bad, right? And it can even help you to turn it around completely. And it's funny because, you know, many years ago, I had a friend that would always make absurd amounts of money when she was mad. And that is such a good example for that, because without knowing that, she was turning her anger at something that was kind of unrelated to her money-making business. She would take that, and she was just so fired up, and she would just directly turn it into money. And it was very fascinating for me to watch that, because she definitely didn't know that she was doing that. She was just saying that anytime something bad happens and I'm so mad and I'm so fired up, then I make a lot of money. And I was watching it from the outside and I was thinking, yeah, you're an alchemist. Like, that's exactly what it is. And for me personally, I'm also someone that, like, when something bad in my life happens, it actually turns me into more of a workaholic. So I'm also turning bad events in my life into money. This is not supposed to be a toxic method at all. It doesn't mean that you're not supposed to process your emotions. It just means that when you feel something that is on the extreme end of the spectrum, even extreme anger, extreme sadness, you can take this energy and put it into something else consciously and achieve a good outcome, you know, get some good work done, make some money. This is what I do always. And of course, it doesn't always work, you know. If you're in deep grief or whatever happens, you may also just have days where you just want to lay in bed. Very possible. And I will call myself an alchemist. As an alchemist, I look at life, I look at every single thing as energy in itself. And even if it's negative, I'm trying to take it and use it for some kind of charge. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope it brought you value. And yeah, like I said, I can't wait to talk more alchemy and more alchemical techniques in depth with you in future videos. Like and subscribe, leave me a comment below, and I see you in the next video. Bye guys!